Thank you for being here today. We are so happy to be here with our partners in Project Safe Neighborhoods for Salt Lake City. Our crime reduction strategies in this city are working, and it is with many thanks to these incredible federal partners that we have. Today, citywide overall crime is down 9% in Salt Lake City. Locally, we are enhancing and adapting our strategies all of the time to reduce crime through, and we do this and track this through our crime control plan. Chief Brown will talk a little bit more in detail about that in just a moment. Project Safe Neighborhoods is one of those strategies in our local crime control plan, and it's another great example of a collaborative effort that makes more of the officers and the programs that we run locally by bringing these partners to the table and leveraging all of our tools together. Since this program began now nearly 2 years ago, 260 defendants have now been charged with serious crimes as a result of these investigations, and those who are convicted are serving serious time. That's an average of 40 months at this point. 77 individuals have been charged this year alone. Law enforcement in Salt Lake City has seized 112 guns and more than $117,000 in cash this year alone, as well as nearly 9 kilos of meth and more than 2 kilos of cocaine. We are not done, and we are not giving up. No amount of crime is acceptable in this city. Our residents and visitors here in the city deserve to feel safe every single day. And in this case, I am thrilled, really, that we are able to take this targeted approach to get the apex criminals, drugs, and guns off of our streets. I want to thank our partners with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Marshal's Office, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and our Department of Public Safety here in Utah, as well as the Sheriff's Department for the willingness to bring staffing, resources, and partnership to this effort. To our residents and to our business owners and visitors to this city, there is no finish line to this work. We are here to update you that the strategies we are using are working, that crime is down in Salt Lake City, and that we are thankful for the partnerships that make more of the limited resources we have at a local level to impact crimes that affect everyone. You'll hear today, following my remarks just now, from Chief Mike Brown, followed by the U.S. Attorney for the District of Utah, Trina A. Higgins, ATF Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Bradley Engelbert, and FBI Special Agent in Charge, Dennis Rice. Chief Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I am proud to stand here with the people you see today. They are part of our comprehensive response to violent crime that's happening in Salt Lake City. Our response plan to violent crime continues to be laser focused. We are directing our limited resources on those people who are causing the most harm in our community. Because of the hard work of our officers, our federal partners, the data and research teams, we are developing straightforward response to violent crime. And when I say straightforward response, let me outline that just a little bit. If you're here in Salt Lake City and you're going to commit a violent crime, we're going to track you down, we're going to arrest you, we're going to prosecute you, and you're going to serve the time. That's pretty straightforward. A few weeks ago, the mayor and I provided an update on our crime control plan. Within that, we talked about stratified policing and defining focus areas to address violent crime that's happening in our city. This approach, let me tell you, it is working, just like the mayor said. Our violent crime reduction plan, coupled with stratified policing, is getting guns and drugs off the streets. Let me give you one example of many. In August, members of our gang unit spent hundreds of hours working in one of our focus areas on North Temple. Because of their proactive police work, they located an occupied stolen vehicle. Our officers tried to stop the driver, but he took off. After a short foot chase, our officers safely arrested the man. As part of our investigations, our officers found nearly 50 oxycodone pills, 21 grams of meth, 4 grams of heroin, 50 grams of fentanyl, and a Ruger 380. The suspect in this case turned out to be a person who was on felony probation, making it illegal for him to have or to be in possession of a pistol. That person is now facing federal prosecution in the District of Utah. Thank you, Trina. Accountability is essential, and even so than ever, when repeat offenders continuously use guns and drugs to further their criminal activities. Because of the Project Safe Neighborhood project, the average length, just like the mayor said, is 40 months behind bars. The work we are doing to keep our city safe could not be possible without the women and men who support our officers, our special agents, and federal prosecutors. There is a network of people who make these PSN cases so successful, and I truly appreciate their hard work. I've met with chiefs from across the country. I've seen other PSN projects get launched, but I'm here to tell you there is none that have had the success that we are seeing here in Salt Lake City. I credit that to the leadership you see here. And of course, to the police officers, detectives, special agents, and prosecutors, and many, many people behind the scenes that are making this happen. Now let me make one point real clear. Our law enforcement officers, our police officers are enforcing the law and holding people accountable. We have seen in 2022, in Salt Lake City alone, a 17% increase in jail bookings compared to the same time last year. There is no question about it. The Project Safe Neighborhood project is maximizing public safety and taking illegal guns and drugs off the street. Since we started this project in 2021, we have taken more than 300 guns off the street. We have seized 51 kilos of meth, and most of the people that are being prosecuted are, under this project, are being charged with possession of illegal firearms. We are keeping our city safe, and I couldn't be prouder of the women and men of the Salt Lake City Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Mayor Mendenhall for your continued support of PSN. And thank you to Chief Brown, ASAC Engelbert, ATF, and our FBA SAC, Dennis Rice, for putting together a highly effective and very successful task force. I was hired here in the U.S. Attorney's Office 20 years ago to be a PSN prosecutor. I was brought over specifically for the purpose of prosecuting Project Safe Neighborhoods gun cases. And during the entirety of that 20 years, Utah has led the way in Project Safe Neighborhoods and gun crime prosecutions. We have been on the forefront of this project, and we've been highly successful. And how do we know how successful we are? You've heard statistics from Mayor Mendenhall, you've heard the statistics from Chief Brown, overall statistics. But we look underneath those statistics to some more specific items. One of the things we look at is the length of sentence, the average length of sentence that these defendants are receiving. And by 40 months, we know that that means we are focusing on the right people. We're focusing on people whose sentences are higher because they're aggravating factors, because they have criminal history, because their firearm possession is in connection to other crimes, because of aggravating factors. They have a higher sentences on average. That's how we know we're focusing on the right people. Here's another way we know that we are focusing on the right people. More than 50% of the defendants prosecuted through PSN Salt Lake City are people who were on paper at the time, which means these are people who were on parole, on probation, or on supervised release at the time they possessed a gun. So these are suspects who have, first of all, previously been convicted of a crime that makes it illegal for them to possess firearms. Second, they have been told specifically by a probation officer or someone supervising them that they are prohibited from possessing firearms. Third, these are people who have regular contact with a probation officer or some type of agent. And when these people who are on supervision choose to arm themselves, it creates a very specific threat. a threat that they will most likely come in contact with a probation officer or a law enforcement officer. It's a specific threat to law enforcement and a threat to our entire community. So we know that those are the people we should be focused on. People in that situation who would arm themselves. We are taking these firearms off the street, and we are sending these people to federal prison. None of this would be possible, of course, without our incredible partnerships. Across the country, when I talk to other United States attorneys, they are jealous of the partnerships we have here. We have this incredible partnership with Salt Lake City Police Department. We have similar partnerships in Ogden, and we have other partnerships throughout the state. But we also have our incredible federal partners, ATF and FBI, who are both willing to stand up these task forces and make sure that we can work with our state and local law enforcement agencies to have the best possible outcome. Nearly every single one of these cases represents a law enforcement officer encountering an armed criminal. These officers put themselves at risk to remove this threat from our neighborhood. We are grateful to them, but that's not where it ends. The case also needs to be prosecuted. And to that, I would like to say thank you to the Assistant United States Attorneys in my office. Nearly every prosecutor in my office is prosecuting gun cases and has prosecuted gun cases. And specifically to Sam Peed, who is here. Sam Peed is our Project Safe Neighborhoods coordinator, and Vernon Stetzel, who is our organized crime chief. I want to say thank you to them and to everyone who has been working on this project.
Been a lot of numbers mentioned today. Number of defendants prosecuted, number of guns taken off the street, amounts of drugs taken off out of the community, average sentences for defendants that are prosecuted under this program. This is how we measure success internally. These are the metrics we can look at to understand if we're doing the job the way we should be doing the job. But there's a number here that's so much more important than those numbers, and that is the violent crime rate here in the community, here in Salt Lake City. At a time when nationally cities are facing high single, double-digit increases in violent crime, unfortunately some cities are experiencing triple-digit increases in homicides. Salt Lake City is seeing a decrease in violent crime. I'm going to repeat that. Salt Lake City is seeing a decrease in violent crime. Now, of course, there are a lot of factors that play into that, but I can't help but think, and I'm convinced, that this project, what we collectively are doing and the people who work for us and with us are doing, are driving those numbers down. As the U.S. Attorney mentioned, these projects exist elsewhere. We're effective. We're doing the right job. PSN's existed for 20 years. We reinvigorated it here 2 years ago. And we're driving down violent crime in this community. And I think that can't be understated. That is what we're here to do. That is the whole purpose of all of this. It's not necessarily how many convictions. It's not necessarily how many guns. It's not necessarily how much drugs we're taking off the street. Those are indicators. The true measure of our success is this community is safer because of what the individuals who are engaged in this project are doing. And I just can't tell you how proud I am to have ATF as a part of that effort, to be a partner with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the city and our partners with the FBI. And it's a tremendous team, and it's a successful team. And I think it's important for folks to recognize that this community is safer because of the efforts brought forward, frankly, by Mayor Mendenhall and the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I want to commend them and thank them very much for that effort. Thank you.
So the men and women of the FBI are very excited to be a part of this, and we have been, but I really appreciate the partnerships that we have. You've heard from the mayor, you've heard from the U.S. Attorney, from the chief, and from the ATF, but we also talk about the partners we did last time is you, the community. because without you, we can't be successful. We need you telling us what you're seeing, what you're hearing, so that we can continue to take these guns and drugs off the street to make it a safer place. But it's all about the partnerships. The U.S. Attorney mentioned that she's talked to other U.S. attorneys about how jealous they are. I've served around the country at other FBI offices, and I can tell you there's not a closer working relationship than we have here in Salt Lake City and actually around the state of Utah. It's something to be proud of. What you can't see is there's members of the media here who are carrying this story out to the community. You're going to see this on the news tonight. You're going to hear it on the radio. You play a critical role in that. We all have to work at this because we all live here. We all want to live safe. We raise our kids here. We go out and do social events. The only way it's going to be safe is if we communicate, we talk, and we share what we're seeing and hearing. Not one agency standing up here today can do this alone. It has to be a unified effort. We have to communicate. We need your help. We've had a lot of success. The only way we're going to continue to have success is you have to work with us. You hear about stolen guns, secure your weapons. Make sure that you're having those discussions, okay? Those stolen guns winding up on the street may be involved in a violent crime. You play a part of that. You can help safeguard that. But continue to work with us. I want to thank the men and women of law enforcement. It's a dangerous profession, and I appreciate what they're doing. They're out on the streets doing the job, protecting us when we're sleeping. I also want to thank all the prosecutors who are doing their part to help make sure that we bring justice to the community. But you should take a lot of pride through the holidays that your community is safer because we're all working together as we should be. Thank you.
I think we're happy to take any questions. Come on, Pat.
All right, so you say crime is down, is that for the past year, but I think since 2020, it went way up. Are we pre-2020 levels yet, or how are we doing?
So actually, Chief probably has that chart in his back pocket, but across the nation, you saw crime, overall violent crime and property crimes skyrocket, especially in capital cities, medium and large-sized cities around the country. Utah was not unique in that way. And actually, in a panel discussion yesterday, Sim Gill, our district attorney, stated that our surrounding counties have seen a far more dramatic increase in violent crime than actually Salt Lake County has. So it's not remarkable that we saw an increase in 2020 and the early part of 21. What is outstanding is that we've seen and created such a dramatic change to a year-to-date decrease of about 3%. And so it is important, I think, to consider the national context, the trauma of a pandemic, the number of events around social uprising that happened, the domestic violence cases that were up across the country, also here in Utah and Salt Lake City specifically. And we've been able to see a change there. But when it comes to exact numbers, happy to pull those up for you in the CompStat report.
Any comments on guns? It seems like every one of you had comments that you're just arresting people with a lot of guns on the streets. Is that continuing to be a problem? The accessibility of, or?
I think in large part the effort of Project Safe Neighborhood is to address gun crime. I mean, if you look at the stats that are up on the city website, there's a lot of drugs being gotten off the street as well, a lot of currency, a lot of cash. In this case, or through the effort of the project, I think we're at nearly 300 guns over the 2 years. Is that right, Chief? Over 300 guns. I think we're focused on that because that's really a driver of violent crime or indicative of the violent crime. And every gun that we take off the streets, and again, it's Chief Brown's people out there every day, late at night, in adverse conditions who are putting their lives on the line that are getting these guns off the street. Again, these guns aren't just showing up in the evidence locker, people out of goodwill turning them in. These are armed confrontations that fortunately are going the right way. But those guns are being brought in, and every one of those guns that gets brought in off the street is a gun that's not going to be used in a crime moving forward. So I think that's part of why we're so focused on the guns, because it is such a big part of the PSN effort, and it is such a indicator of the impact on violent crime we're having.
It seems like the bad guys don't have a problem finding one. Is that the case, or are they coming from all the car burglaries and house burglaries, or where?
It's certainly a source, yes. And as SAC Rice said, please secure your guns. Don't leave guns in your car overnight. Secure them in your house, because that is a source of these. There are markets for guns that we also look to address. That's part of the ATF mission as well. We're always working trafficking cases, straw purchasing cases, all those other areas through which guns enter that illegal commerce. But one of them is certainly the theft from both residences and cars. So I echo SAC Rice, please secure your firearms. Don't leave them out where they can be easily obtained by criminal elements.
Just real quick to follow up, Pat. National studies show over the last 2 years during the pandemic years, 40 million guns were sold in this country. That was not unique. I mean, that included Salt Lake City. There's a lot of guns on the street. Secure your guns. Be a responsible gun owner. Don't leave your gun in a car. If your gun is stolen, call us, let us know, report it. But it seems as if there are a lot of guns that make it to the street. Guns are being used in many, many crimes. Guns are being used as a commodity. It's a crisis that we're trying to hit and tackle head on here with this task force.
Anybody else? We were very thorough for you. Okay. All right, thank you.